All right, people, we are back. It's episode 44 of the Punching Down podcast with your host, me. It's always me. It's never not me. It's been an exciting week. I don't know, pretty uneventful to be honest. Not like the previous weeks where lots of shit was going down. All the GameStop nonsense. People have been really liking. I've been getting a lot of messages of people saying that they like that I'm talking about all this stock market stuff. By the way, if you don't know this, I've mentioned it, but I'm the editor of this website called Hard Money, which is it's like a finance satire site. So check that out. If you're enjoying this stuff, it's kind of in the same realm from the people who brought you the hard times. Yeah, so I'm going to be talking more about this stuff. Hopefully people enjoy it. So yeah, the GameStop stuff, hopefully nobody still has GameStop. Wall Street Bets has completely moved on from GameStop. Let's see. The price of GameStop as of today, $51.20 up. This is Wednesday evening right now, up 1.69%. Remember when it was going up 200% in a day? Like, for people who are just like action junkies and just love that crazy volatility, and now they're like, all right, it's up 1%. Like, if there's so many people too. Like, I just know the psychology, because like the stock market is a big, psychology has a lot to do with what's going on in the stock market. And there's so many people who just have it at they have it for $300. They're like what they paid for. And there is this psychology, which a lot of people, if you ever like get in the stock market or any sort of Bitcoin or anything where you buy something, it's hard to take a loss, because a lot of times the way people perceive taking a loss, especially on like a trade of some sort, is you're like, I'm wrong. And you don't want to admit you're wrong, and you're not wrong until you close out the trade. So then people will be like, you know what, I'm just going to hold this out because I don't have to admit I'm wrong. And then you just people, it's a joke all the time, or not all the time, but it's a joke where people will be like, someone will do like a day trade and then become like a long-term investor, because they'll be like, oh, I'm just going to buy this and it's going to go up $1. I'm going to get out. And then it goes down $1. And they're like, oh, well, I'm just going to wait for it to go. I'm just going to wait for it to go back to what I paid for it, and then I'll get out of break even. And then just like 2 years later, it's down 90%. You're like, all right, that's it for me. I'm just going to get out of this. And, but yeah, so people holding it, and you're like, you basically, because here's another thing that a lot of people don't realize in terms of the math with the stock market is, if you have, say you bought GameStop just for round numbers, if you bought GameStop at, I was trying to do a round number thing, but I'm realizing I have to do some math here. But if you bought GameStop at $300 and it's now $50, it's gone down 5/6, which is what, 84%, right? It's down roughly 84%, okay? And change, 85%, right? So it's like you bought it, it's down 85%. It doesn't need to go back up 85% for you to get back to even. It needs to go back up 600%. It needs to go up 6 times in order for you just to be even. So it's like, for people who own it, and you're just like, today you're like, you open your ticker and then it just kind of fucking chops around, and then it ends the day up 1.69%, 85 cents. You're like, oh, at this pace, I should be back to even in, I don't know. I mean, literally a year, if it goes up $1 a day for the next year. If it goes up 1% and change, maybe less, maybe a few months. It's not. Just, again, if you listen to this podcast, this is not financial advice. I have to be certain not to or people construe this as financial advice. I don't want to wind up in trouble like that fucking Deepfuckingvalue guy, which I'll talk about momentarily. But just sell your GameStop. There's so many other things. Look at all the money they're making in weed stocks over in Wall Street Bets. They're making tons of money in weed stocks. Not that you should be blindly following them into this stuff, but get out of GameStop. I think it's over. It's done. Deepfuckingvalue. So I talked about it last week. He he kind of pieced out on the whole. So he's the guy who started the whole the GameStop thing, where he's the guy who like brought it to everybody's attention, and he made, you know, tens of millions of dollars on this GameStop trade. And then I think last week or 2 weeks ago, because he would every day update his position, especially when he was going crazy, and he's just like, I'm not fucking selling, which was insane in hindsight, obviously. And I mean, there's still people on Wall Street Bets who are just like, you know, and they just have this hope, you know, where they're like, it's going back and we're screwing over these people. But anyway, so that guy was posting every day. He stopped posting every day. He's like, you know what, I got to take a break. I think last week he's like, I got to take a break. The daily updates, I'm not going to do them anymore. And then I believe this was today or maybe yesterday. It was announced that, this was today. So there's all these like investigations and hearings going on into this whole GameStop. Like, you know, how did it happen? How was a company short, or how was the percentage shares short more than 100% of the shares? What was going on? How did this happen? Essentially, you know, the regulators, they want to get to it. And so the Massachusetts regulator, I don't know why Massachusetts is not like a federal one. I don't get how it works. So if you know, good for you. But so they're subpoenaing this dude, Deepfuckingvalue. His name is Keith Gill. So they're basically subpoenaing him, and he needs to come into. I love the idea too that they're like, all right, and coming to the stand now is how would you like to? They're like probably like Keith Gill, aka Deepfuckingvalue. Like they're gonna have to say Deepfuckingvalue in court. A stenographer is probably gonna have to write that down. But so he's coming in. Yeah, he's coming in. So he probably was like, you know what? I'm sure he got some legal advice because he quit his job. He resigned. They say in this article he resigned from his job he gave his notice on January 21st. He was like a financial advisor. Like that's the thing too, is like he wasn't unqualified to be giving this information, but I think because he's like a financial advisor, people are like, you know, they're like you know, there's a potential that they're gonna try and, you know, maybe say that he did something criminal. Who knows? Like, obviously, if someone knowingly does what he did and, like, you know, gets a bunch of people to coordinate, like, some crazy short squeeze, that's super illegal. People go to jail for that shit. So, imagine that's what just happens with all this stuff is, like, no hedge funds, nobody gets in trouble. Like, after the 2008 financial crisis, nobody got in trouble, nobody went to jail. All these motherfuckers almost ruined the economy. And then they end up sending Deepfuckingvalue to jail, giving the Martin Shkreli treatment or some shit, just 5 or 10 years, and it's just like some hard ass jail, all because he was just posting on Wall Street Bets on Reddit. It's not gonna happen. I mean, who knows? Crazier things have happened, but he's probably like, I wonder if he's just like on vacation. What's he doing? I mean, he's got tons of money right now. He's probably just trading stocks. It's a crazy time in the stock market. I don't know how many people listen or just kind of have a general interest versus actually dabble in it. There is this element too, because if you go on Wall Street Bets right now, the whole GameStop thing was like, felt like such a movement, and everybody was like so excited, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna like take down these hedge funds, these fat cats who have been fucking us forever. We're gonna take them down. It's David versus Goliath. First off, Goliath completely won this. If you have any question of who won and who lost, Goliath won 100%. There was like some hedge fund that came out, and they like had to give their like report for like, you know, the monthly reports, and they basically made $700 million buying GameStop, because they were just like the people who thought, oh, these were just little guys, are like, no, they were like huge amounts of money, like professional hedge funds who were just like getting in on the fun, and they made most of the money. But yeah, so you go on Wall Street Bets, and all these people are like, you know, Wall Street Bets is ruined now since all this GameStop stuff. What happened to all this, like, you know, we're diamond hands, blah, blah, blah. And then there's all these people who are like, wait, so what's the point of, because they were all like, we don't care what's going to happen. Like, you don't understand. Like, we can stay solvent longer, or we can stay retarded longer than you can stay solvent. And they were like, you know, all these little sayings and shit. And they're like, we'll lose every penny. We don't give a shit. Like, we're diamond hands. We like, if GameStop goes to zero, we don't care. And everybody was like, yeah, it's like, it's all about the movement. It was more like they were like donating to a GoFundMe, but they were doing so by like buying shares in their Robinhood account. And then now like people are starting to get a little disillusioned with shares at $50, and like the whole story clearly over. Like GameStop short percentage is like way down. And then people are just like, yes, wait, what's the point of just like me losing all my money right now? Like, can someone please explain why it's why I should just be losing everything? Seems like not the best idea at the moment to just, lose every dollar I have in fucking this dumbass GameStop thing. Like before it seemed fun and they were like, maybe you're going to win some money, and now you're just like, nah, you're fucked. A lot of people consider this a sign of a bubble. It's hard to know if we're in a bubble right now. You never know. That's kind of like one of the things about a bubble. Like if you read financial stuff, they're pretty regularly. There's a lot of people who are like, we are in the granddaddy of all bubbles. Like there's this dude, Jeremy Grantham, who's like a really famous, like old school investor who kind of newer people shit on because he's like, he hasn't done well in a long time, but he killed it like long time ago. He's like literally 90 years old or something like that. Smart guy. I wouldn't just discount whatever he says, but he's like, this bubble is comparable to like, one of the top 5 bubbles of all time. And there's a lot of factors going on. The main one that I think a lot of people don't really realize, like if you don't follow this kind of stuff, but because of COVID and all the, crazy issues that happened with COVID, the U.S. government essentially, they printed like of all the U.S. dollars that exist, I don't know the exact number, so don't quote me on this, but it's something crazy, like, 30 or 50% of all the U.S. dollars that exist of all time were printed in 2020, right? And so what happens is they print all this money because they need to, stimulate, that's how they use it, they stimulate the economy by like, they give people money, and, if you receive a stimulus check, that's where that money came from, or your business got money, it came from that. But a lot of that money just went in like the stock market, right? Because people are like, why the fuck? People don't understand it. Like, why does the stock market, like, all these businesses everyone's going out of business. Everybody's like struggling so badly. And it's like, why is the stock market doing so great? And it's because so much of that newly printed money just like went into shares of Apple. And so it's like, that money has to go somewhere. And so, that's where it went. It just went into the stock market, which is, driving up prices, which is why obviously people are like, this is a crazy fucking bubble. Some people disagree. It's hard to know exactly. There's some people think it's inflation, which is, I think so. I mean, don't quote me on this, but there's a chance that a carton of eggs is going to be $25 next year. Hopefully not, but I saw something like corn was up, like just the commodity corn. Like, remember the movie Trading Places with like, orange futures, like how they trade these just like commodities, and just like corn, which is like, everybody eats fucking corn, was up like a lot last week, like 15%, which is, a big move for just like corn without some crazy weather event. And like this year, like chicken wings were like the most expensive ever for the Super Bowl, but that had to do with like they can't kill the chickens fast enough. I don't know. There's a lot of crazy bubble things going on. Like this, the SPAC thing. So if you don't know what the SPACs are, they're, it's called a special purpose acquisition company. This is also a sign of what some people say is a sign of a bubble. Not if you ask. There's this dude, Chamath Palihapitiya, at Chamath on Twitter. He's a good dude. I listen to his podcast. Great podcast, All In Podcast. If you want to listen to it. He is like the co-owner of, he used to work at Facebook, and he's like this guy who's basically like, Facebook is like evil motherfuckers, even though he legit made like $1 billion from them. And he owns a part of the Golden State Warriors, and he brought back these SPAC. And if you don't know what they are, because like they talk about them a lot, is basically like they'll just announce, they'll go, we're doing a $500 million SPAC. You can buy shares in it, so it'll be like, $500 million, and it'll be 50 million shares at $10 a share. So that's a 500, it's basically called like a blank check company. So all you're doing is you're giving them $500 million. And then they have like 6 months or a year to go find a private company that they can buy. Right. So that's basically what, so they're just like, you give them, you go, here's $500 million, go find a private company to buy. And then maybe, they end up buying a company you like. But like when you buy the shares, you have no idea what they're going to buy. You're just betting on the person who's behind it. So like Colin Kaepernick launched one today, and people are like, and there's like, there was like 17 new ones launched today, which everybody's like, yeah, that's definitely a sign of a bubble. And then the crazy thing is that the Colin Kaepernick one that he launched too was it was like a social justice. It was he was doing a $250 million SPAC, and as a social justice related SPAC, which I don't, oh, excuse me. That's Maria Bartiromo. Sorry if you heard that. I'm just looking at this article right now on Fox. And so it's basically a SPAC, and it's just like, a social justice SPAC. So they're going to buy some company that's maybe doesn't fucking destroy the rainforest. I guess not the worst thing in the world. But a lot of people are like, yeah, this is definitely a sign of a top. And the crazy thing with these SPACs is, so like they start trading, and so it's like for a $500 million SPAC, for example, if there's 50 million shares, like, 500 million divided by 50 million is $10. So it's like there's $10 of cash in the company. That's it. That's all there is. It's straight up just like a bank account with cash in it. There's nothing else. And then they're trying to spend it. But so depending on like who's behind the SPAC and like the rumors about like what might happen with the SPAC, it goes up. So it's like there's SPACs, for example, like this guy Chamath, and full disclosure, so I've bought a few of his. I bought one. The first one I ever bought, so he bought the tickers IPOA to IPOZ. He has every one of them, and that's the ticker is IPOA, IPOB. And this is how stupid the stock market is. So he's at IPOG is what he's done. He's gonna have a SPAC coming out soon called IPOO, basically IPO. That'll go up just because people are fucking morons. Like that'll just go up 50% just because people are like, I want to own whatever IPO is, because that's hilarious, right? But so anyways, I bought this one. It was called IPOB. His first one, IPOA, became Virgin Galactic. So that's basically what happened. Here's $10 a share for 500 million. We're gonna go spend this 500 million, and we're gonna go buy a company or buy a portion of a company. And so they bought Virgin Galactic, which now trades as Space, SPCE, which is like the space tourism company. If you bought it the day that it launched, which was like a year ago or something, it was $10 a share. Now it's $52.40 as of today. And it was as high as like 60, I think. So at one point you would have been up, 6 times. Pretty good return for a year. And a lot of what this guy does really well. So I bought the one I bought IPOB. It was the one right after. And when I bought it, I had no idea what I was doing. I had just kind of learned about SPACs. This was in the past summer, but I knew who the guy was. I knew this guy Chamath, and I'm like, this guy's really smart. I want to put my money behind him. And I had no idea this whole system or anything. So it was like $12.50 a share. And I bought some. I bought some IPOB at $12.50 a share. It immediately, like within 2 weeks, went down to $10. And I was like, what the fuck? And then I basically realized that I just bought a $10 bill for $12.50. That's all it is. It's like you're straight up just like, here's $12.50. And then someone hands you back a $10 bill. And you're like, yeah, that's not a good transaction. Full disclosure, 6 months later, it's more than tripled. It's about tripled, actually. So it's a good investment. They bought this thing called Open Door, which is like this weird website that, because you know how like I barely know what they do, but which is probably also a sign of a bubble. When I own companies, I'm like, yeah, I don't know what they do, but it seems pretty cool. But they what do they do? Oh yeah, they buy houses. Like if you're someone who wants to sell your house, instead of like getting a realtor and like doing all that stuff, this company will just like, you just go on their website and they'll just buy your house from you like for cash. Like I think you don't even have to. They don't see it, or maybe they send someone in to have a look, and then they'll just buy your house, and then they'll go fix it up, and then they'll go sell it. Apparently, it's really big in Phoenix, Arizona. I don't know a ton. It's a newer company. But so these SPAC things, a lot of people think they're like A-Rod has a SPAC, Alex Rodriguez, the baseball player, Shaq, a Shaq SPAC, which is the ticker's not Shaq, even though you think a Shaq SPAC. There's this guy, Bill Ackman. He's like a famous investor. This is how crazy it is with the SPAC. So he has this one. It's called PSTH, which my boy Matt Saincombe, he's the founder of Hard Times and Hard Money. He's really big into this one. By the way, none of this is financial advice. I cannot stress enough how much this is not financial advice at all. But Matt Saincombe, he's super into this one, PSTH. It's trading at, I think, like, it's been all over the place, but it's trading at $30 as of today. It started out at $21.50, I think was the very opening price. Yeah, $21.50. So they haven't announced a company they're buying. So you're literally being like, here's $30 and you get back, like, because they have an option too, where if they can't find a company for you to buy or for them to buy, they'll just give you the money back. And that money's not like what you paid for it. You just get $21.50 back. So you're basically paying $30 today for potentially just getting $21.50 in cash. But some of them, if you bet on the right guys, apparently this one's going to buy Chick-fil-A, has been the rumor, or Stripe or something. I have no idea. I don't own it, but my friend Matt is really into it. But anyways, Bill Ackman posted this guy. His name is Cassius Cuvee, Cuvee. He posted he's like really into SPACs, and he posted a rap about SPACs. Like, he made up a rap. It's not bad. I don't rap, so I don't know, but like it's fine. It's not bad at all. Like, go check it out. It's like, the SPAC rap or whatever the fuck. It's probably the only rap about SPACs. So Bill Ackman posted it yesterday or 2 days ago, and then the thing just shot up 10%. Because like everybody on, like, I guess social media has just amplified things so much, and so all these people are like, what does it mean? Bill Ackman just posted this. Like, he could just be posting it, oh, this is funny, but people are like, oh, this must mean he must have a target and like something. This is good news. So literally, the thing goes up, and you're talking about, like, I think, and this is a bigger one. This is, a $6 billion SPAC. So like, whereas some are like 500 million or $1 billion. So you're talking about this going up $600 million. Like $600 million basically just materialized out of thin air, because the guy who runs this thing posted a YouTube rap about SPACs. So anyways, that's why people tend to think we might be in a bit of a bubble. Who knows? Tesla on Monday announced that they're investing in Bitcoin, which made Bitcoin shoot up. I mentioned before that I was never into Bitcoin. If you've been listening the past couple of weeks, I'd never been into Bitcoin. I thought it was stupid. And then when Robinhood didn't let everybody trade, I was like, you know what? Seems like a good case for Bitcoin. So I bought some. Went up I bought these Bitcoin related stocks. One of them is like a Bitcoin miner. The other one is a company that just owns a shit ton of Bitcoin, even though it's weird because they're called MicroStrategy, and their CEO is the guy who kind of convinced Elon Musk to buy Bitcoin. And like, they're a software company, but like their actual software is like not that good and people don't really use it. And it, like, as an actual software company, it's doing not very poorly, but every year it does worse than the previous year, which is not like a business you want to buy in. But then they own 70,000 Bitcoin. So when Elon Musk like announced, and I should have known this because I had bought it 2 weeks ago. I bought it at like $580 a share, and then as it was going up, and then Elon Musk made the announcement, and then it went from, I think it went from like $800 on Friday to like $1,300 yesterday. And I was like, and this is a thing with the stock market. Sometimes it's hard to know when to sell because you're just like, you get kind of greedy and you're like, fuck, I could just keep going up higher. So I didn't sell yesterday. It dropped $300 today. Bummer indeed. But anyways, yeah, it's weird because it's like, it's just a company that's like this software company that just happened to just buy a shit ton of Bitcoin. And then you're like, so what do you guys even do? Are you like, am I investing in a software company, or am I investing in your Bitcoin, or you're just investing in like the idea of them owning all this Bitcoin and what the future could hold? But anyway, so Elon Musk is like, put $1.5 billion of Tesla's money into Bitcoin, which apparently works out to like $1 a share. So if you buy a share of Tesla for 800 and change, you get $1 worth of Bitcoin. Not bad. Again, people are like, is that a sign of a bubble? I don't know. The weed stocks are going crazy. The interesting thing with Wall Street Bets is that they do have some power with this whole weed stock business, right? Like, or just stock pumping in general. But it is really seeming like a pump and dump because they're pumping shit that's like this stock Tilray, which is this Canadian weed company, which, people are like, oh, federal weed legalization's coming, so you want to buy weed stocks, and then they're like, but these stocks aren't like have huge short positions, and they're not great companies. Like weed, I don't know what it's like in America. I mean, I know what it's like in America, but in Canada, since weed's been legalized, it's like if you own a a weed producer, it's like you might as well fucking make potatoes or something. Like you just own a company that like grows a commodity. Like it's not like, oh man, we're fucking raking it in, we're weed dealers. You're like, not really. And it's so regulated. But anyway, so there was this one random it's called like Sundial or something that Wall Street Bets was pumping, and it was up like 75% today. It's up like 3 times in the past week, maybe something like that. So they have power, but this is like, this isn't the vibe of like, oh, we're taking down the man. This is like, okay, we're straight just doing pump and dumps where just try not to be the last person out, because the people who are the latest to the game are just going to get absolutely fucking clowned, and then everybody else is just going to make money, and then we're going to just move on to the next thing. So the weed thing, if you're thinking about buying the weed thing, I personally am not investing advice. And then here's the last thing, this is the last kind of financial related thing, and then we'll go on to some other non-stock market things. So with the crypto, the big crypto boom is there's all these like altcoins, which I don't own any. Actually, I bought this one called Uni just because like a friend who I know recommended it, and they're like, you might. So but I bought like pretty much nothing. But so there's these. This is really like I can't wrap my head around this. So there's a thing in crypto called NFTs, which is like non-fungible tokens. Essentially, like it's like I don't even know how to explain it. It's like it's blockchain, but it's not like a currency. But so this thing, it's called NBA Top Shot. I don't know if you heard of it. It's from the people who brought you Crypto Kitties, which Crypto Kitties were these like Bitcoin or these crypto cats you could own, and then people were like buying and selling them, and then like some of them were like became really valuable because they were rare, and like you would own these cats, and then they like came and then they went away. So anyways, this same company who did this, they do these non-fungible token things, started the thing in October called NBA Top Shot, which NBA Top Shot is you're buying. It's licensed by the NBA. This is like, well, the more I talk about this, like we must be in the fucking craziest bubble right now. It's so hard to tell when you're in it. But then also, like, one thing I will say about bubbles is, a lot of people are so obsessed with like nailing the top and like, being right about being in a bubble that they miss out on the entire run. Like, if you participate in the whole bubble and then it pops, like the damage that'll happen from the pop is not going to be as much as, all the money you should have made on the way up. Assuming you don't like absolutely just do really stupid things like, YOLOing all your money in call options, which a lot of people on Wall Street Bets do. But so these things, NBA Top Shots, they're like, it's like it's like a clip of a player. So like they're supposed to be like sports cards, which sports cards, if I don't know if you've been following this, probably not, but they are going absolutely fucking bananas. They are going crazier than Bitcoin, than stocks, than like if you think GameStop is crazy, you should go look at fucking Michael Jordan rookie cards. I almost bought a Michael Jordan rookie card 2 years ago for like $4,000, and I remember I was thinking about it, and I was like, nah, that's a lot of money. And at the time, I was like, it was like that's a lot, and like I don't know. That card is worth $100,000 right now. It's fucking insane. Like a real granted, not GameStop returns in the time frame, but like that's a 25 times return in 2 years. Really fucking nuts. On like it's not like crazy rare. Like they're fairly rare, but there's a lot of them. But I think people are starting to treat sports cards like art or something. Like I listened to Gary Vee talk about it. Anyways, so these NBA Top Shot things, they're like they're like digital trading cards, but instead of like just a card, it's a little clip. It's like a moment. So, but it'll be like, you know, I'm a big basketball fan, so if like it'll be like, hey, here's a LeBron James layup, or like a LeBron James jump shot, and it'll literally just be 3 seconds. LeBron James pulls up, crosses someone over, hits a jump shot. That's the moment, and they'll be like, there's only 2,000 of these, and it's on the blockchain. So you can track who owns it and where it's going and all the transactions. So anyways, they launched this site in October selling these things officially licensed. And like some of them are ridiculous. Some of them are like, here's a Will Barton assist. And it's like, you know, Will Barton, good player. If you know him, plays on Denver, but he's like, you know, he's whatever. He's like a bench player. No, most people don't know who the fuck Will Barton is. But it'll be like, here's a Will Barton assist. But people are like collecting these and like they're selling for like, some of them, the rare ones, like, you know, LeBron James, Steph Curry, like, you know, a dunk, or like some are selling for like $200,000. It's like a thing that didn't even exist 6 months ago. And you're like, and I can't tell if like, because all the people, it feels very much like Emperor Has No Clothes, where if you go read about NBA Top Shot, everybody's just like, no, you just don't get it, man. And like, because there's this whole thing where people just, they don't want to be the people who don't get it, so then they participate because they don't want to admit that they don't get it. And, you know, they don't want to miss out because they're like, holy shit, like someone bought a pack of cards for $9. Like, and it's a pack of digital cards. Nothing you can hold in your hand. They go, oh, someone bought one for $9. Yeah. But like, yeah, they sold one for $200,000. And then people are like, oh, there's all this money to be made. People might not even give a shit about the actual thing. And then all these people are like, but it's just how's that any different than like a YouTube clip? Because you can just, like, you don't own the clip. Like, you can't just like take that clip and go like, license it somewhere and like earn a royalty off of it. It's just a clip that you have, like, and you could just go watch that same clip on YouTube, and you could, you know, you can carry that clip around in your pocket on your phone if you want. So, but I feel there's this element of just like whatever, Emperor Has No Clothes, where people are like just afraid to miss out. But like on the weekend, that company Top Shot, they were like because you can't just buy an unlimited amounts of packs or whatever. It's like scarce. They make it scarce. So they had a release, and it was like 2,500 packs at $1,000 each. Like, again, you're not getting anything physical. You're getting like just random shit. Like, it'll be like a Serge Ibaka layup or whatever the fuck, and they sold out in like 2 minutes. Like, so it's like, but again, I'm like, I look at this, I'm like, this is fucking absurd. Like, we must be in just like the mother of all bubbles. We're at the point where people are spending $250,000 on a fucking LeBron James clip that you can just get for free. And then if you're like, why? And they're like, you don't get it, man. It's just like, it's the future. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not going to get it. Watch me like next week being like, all right, gang, I'm all in NBA Top Shot. It's insane. All right. That's it for the financial advice that I'm not giving, because it's not financial advice. I need a sip of water. Excuse me. It's not financial advice. We're going to talk some sports. Tom Brady, greatest of all time. Won his 7th Super Bowl. The game was pretty shitty. Pretty dominant game. I didn't think he was going to win. I thought Mahomes was going to win. To the point, actually, where when they were winning, when Tampa was up, I think in the second quarter, near the end, I called, in a group chat, I went to my friends. I was like, hey, who has a live line? Because you can bet live. And Kansas City was the favorite. I think they were like a 3 or 3.5 point favorite, but you can bet live. And I was like, you know what? I'm like, maybe Kansas City loses, but it'll be a tight game. So then I bet $120. My friend bet it for me on Kansas City. Yeah, they got their clocks clean. But Brady that's pretty impressive at 43 years old to still be winning Super Bowls. The funniest thing too is people who are like I had someone who I'm gonna not name on my Facebook. Facebook is just the place where just people have the worst takes. I only go on there because I have to do some for the hard money thing that I run. It's we have a hard money page, which if you're on Facebook, go follow it. But I don't use Facebook at all anymore. It is just the home of the worst takes consistently. But then someone's like, yeah, is he the GOAT? Try Rocket Richard, who won 10 Stanley Cups. And you're like, yeah, he played in fucking the 50s when there were 6 teams in the NHL. It's like you had a 1 in 6 chance of winning every year, which funny enough, because I think the New York Rangers never won. But, you know, you have is it the Rangers? I think it was the Rangers or the Blackhawks, but I think the Rangers. But like, you have a 1 in 6 chance of winning. It's like the CFL. Like, people are like, if you don't know what the CFL is, the Canadian Football League, people are like all pumped about like, oh, the CFL is like, our team won. And you're like, there's 8 teams or 7 teams in the whole league. Like, every year before the season starts, you have a 1 in 7 chance of being the champion. Like, it's not impressive if you're a 20-time champion. It's like, but anyways, not Cuban. Brady is the GOAT. Cuban, I said that because that's my next thing I want to talk about. Mark Cuban, with all the, you know, I guess political back and forth that's been going on, and just all the polarization. Mark Cuban, at the start of the season, just decided, you know, we're not playing the national anthem. Which, to be honest, when Trump made that whole thing, going back to Colin Kaepernick, when Colin Kaepernick was kneeling during the anthem, then Trump made a whole thing about Colin Kaepernick kneeling and, you know, how he was a son of a bitch or whatever and all that stuff. And then people were like, oh, like, you know, they didn't always play the national anthem in games. They just decided to do it. Apparently it had something to do with like recruiting for like the Army would pay like the league's money, and it was like a way for them to like recruit for the Army. I think, if I'm wrong about that, I'm sorry, but I think it's something along those lines, at least with like the NFL. So anyways, people are like, why don't we just not, like, you know, we won't do the anthems, and then we don't have to worry about like, you know, the thing, because like, what does the anthem have to do with a fucking like football game? So anyways, Mark Cuban just decides, he goes, yeah, we're not doing the anthem anymore, and we just stopped doing it. We're just going to play the game. And he was doing it for 13 games. I don't know how nobody really got more attention. And then I think maybe someone noticed, kind of like the Kaepernick thing too, because Kaepernick never said anything. He was just kneeling, and then someone's like, hey, I noticed you're kneeling for the national anthem. And then he's like, yeah, I'm kneeling. And then that just like blew up. But anyways, so Cuban was like, you know, we're not, and especially in Dallas, it's like, you know, Texas, like people are pretty patriotic there. The Dallas Stars, the hockey team, were like, we're definitely not doing that. We will be doing the anthem. We love America. We love Texas, all that stuff. And then the NBA just came out and they're like, yeah, you guys are doing the anthem. Because, you know, as much as these teams are going against each other, they're all just part of a single business. And I'm sure they were like, yo, dude, we do not need you fucking with our shit right now with these antics. We know you're a billionaire and you're on the Shark Tank or whatever the fuck, but I mean, you remember what happened with the Houston Rockets GM, Daryl Morey, who's currently the GM of the Sixers, who he said, I stand with Hong Kong, when they were in China, and then basically all of a sudden they were like, you couldn't watch basketball games in China. Like, China just was boycotting the NBA because of a fucking tweet of this guy. And they're like, we don't need this nonsense. Good news today. We'll see if this is good news to me. This is, I guess, also slightly stock related. Again, not financial advice. But I bought a month ago some shares of, even though I hate both of these teams, I bought shares of this company, MSGS is the ticker, Madison Square Garden Sports. So the Knicks are one of the most dysfunctional sports organizations in my lifetime. They have been bad for the last 25 years. I think they made the playoffs once. They haven't been good since like the mid-90s, basically. All their draft picks are bad. I was talking to somebody the other day about how a big thing with the Raptors is we had this guy, Andrea Bargnani, who we picked first overall. And then when our new GM came in, the first thing he did was he traded him to the Knicks, and the Knicks like gave us 2 draft picks or something for him. And like, he was just terrible. He's like this slow Italian guy. He had his moments, but not great. Anyways, bought these shares. They tanked. They were down. I think I was down. It's down like 15% on them. It wasn't feeling good. But I was like, but the thing is, so Madison Square Garden, like the family who owned it, the Dolans, they basically, there was like Madison Square Garden Entertainment and Madison Square Garden Sports and Madison Square Garden Networks. Like, they have all these different businesses. And MSGN is like, if you're in New York, it's like they show the Knicks games and all Rangers games. And then MSG entertainment is they own Madison Square Garden, so it's like all the concerts, and then the sports teams pay them for use and like all this stuff, and they own all these venues. And then MSGS, which I bought because stupidly I was like, I thought the Knicks were going to be good. Although you know what, they have been kind of good. I think they're in 6th place, and they are actually doing better than the Raptors. Although maybe they're probably right about tied right now. But so I bought them because Forbes. So the full total market cap of that MSGS when I bought it was like $4.2 billion, which market cap is just the total value. And then Forbes came out and they're like, the Knicks are worth $5.4 billion. And then if you bought all the shares of the MSGS, you would technically own the Knicks and the Rangers for $4.2 billion. So I was like, that seems like a good deal. At which point I bought it, and then it just went down so much. But today, Cuomo announced, although it seems like a fucking nightmare, that Madison Square Garden is going to be reopening on February 23rd for Knicks and Rangers game. First game back will be the Golden State Warriors. Those tickets will be $50,000 a piece, probably. They can only sell 2,000 tickets for the entirety of Madison Square Garden. You can only have 2,000 tickets. So you just know in a city like New York, that is going to be a rich person thing to do. You have to have a fucking a negative test, a negative COVID test, which interesting enough with the COVID tests is like, I have friends in Canada who are like, yeah, it's really hard to get a test. Whereas in New York, like you have to pay for them, but you can get them pretty easily. But so, just to get in, you have to get a test, which is like 100 and some, if you don't, I don't have insurance. So it's like for me, just to like get into the stadium, I have to spend $130 or $50 on the test and then buy the tickets. So for me, that's meaningless because I'm not going to do that. It's a nightmare. But you can now, as of February 23rd, go get in. You got to wear a mask, socially distance. It's 10% of 20,000 seats are available for sale. So that's a good start. And anyways, so I'm like, maybe the stock will not keep going down. Although I'm currently back to essentially break even, which I must say I had the inkling where I was like, maybe I should just sell because I was down so much. And then I'm back and I'm like, do I sell? But no, I think a good rule of thumb with that kind of thing is, if you think you would buy it, don't like if you didn't own it and you think it would be a buy, then don't sell it. But it's just been not the best purchase. Not the best purchase. To the world of food, I talked about this before. Aunt Jemima, remember Aunt Jemima? Isn't it crazy? Fucking George Floyd. George Floyd gets killed, murdered. And then Aunt Jemima's like, yeah, all right, we can't have syrup anymore. We gotta change our name. The amount of shit that George Floyd just caused to go away, all the names of all these teams, like I'm surprised the Blackhawks are, but like the Cleveland Indians, gone. The Washington Redskins, gone. It's all related to George Floyd. If there was no George Floyd, we'd have all these team names. Maybe, maybe down the line they'd change, but wouldn't happen right away like this. So anyways, they announced yesterday that they're changing their name from Aunt Jemima. I think I say maybe Canadian or fucking moron way, to it's the Pearl Milling Company. What the fuck is it's the same logo. It's the Pearl Milling Company. By the way, Aunt Jemima syrup, trash. It's I hope this is not a controversial opinion. I know it's not even syrup. It's like boiled sugar. It's not actually maple syrup. And I know obviously maple syrup is expensive. And I'm an elitist because I have all my NBA Top Shot money now. So I'm like, fuck your syrup or your Jemima, or sorry, your Pearl Milling Company. Pearl Milling, that is the best they could come up with, was Pearl Milling Company. I joked about it on Twitter where I'm like, at some point, people will just start calling black people Pearl Millers as like a negative thing. And then you're like, those fucking Pearl Millers. And then in a year from now, they're going to be like, all right, we got to change it again. What now? That would be the way to really just fuck them over, is if 8chan or 4chan or whatever the fuck, every time they rename them, they just turn the new name into a slur. They just, every time, just the new name of it goes Aunt Jemima to Pearl Milling Company to whatever's next, and you just keep turning it into a slur for black people, and they're like, okay, I guess nobody gets to have syrup. They'll just call it syrup brand syrup. Well, that wouldn't be the worst idea too. It'd be very like meta. People would like it. To the world of comedy. How much time do we have left here? Oh, we're only at 45 minutes. Okay, I got a few things. No, I'm gonna do this, and then we're gonna go out with a comedy bang. So this is pretty crazy, only because this was basically not much of a story at all. But so outside of Tampa, Florida, this was a couple days ago. Hackers broke into the computer system of a water treatment plant. I can't believe this wasn't just like a national story. Like you go on fucking, like, you turn on any news source and they're all just talking about still the same shit. It's still just like, I guess the impeachment thing's happening. I don't know what's going on with that. I just don't care enough. But they're still just like, it's on Trump, all this bullshit. You like almost never see Biden. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I just remember like Trump just took so much bandwidth. Like, you couldn't go fucking 5 minutes without hearing about Trump at all when he was president. Now it's like I might not hear a thing about Biden for a fucking week. I guess it's how it's supposed to be with the president. You don't want them to be just like dominating the news cycle. But anyways, this somehow didn't make it at all. But so hackers I don't know where the hackers were, probably anywhere in the world, but they broke into a water treatment facility plant, and then they gained access to like, there's like a platform that they can just release, I think it was sodium chloride, which they like release to essentially purify the water, but like it's like a chemical that's found in like toilet bowl cleaner and shit, and like Drano and stuff. I think Drano, but like it's a really like nasty chemical, but they put it in these like tiny amounts into the water to like clean it and like make it potable essentially. And that's not me doing an impersonation of someone saying portable. Potable is its own word. I feel like Aunt Jemima would say the word portable and it would sound like potable. I'm getting canceled. Anyways, they broke in, they hacked into the computer, and then they just like raised the levels from like 100 parts per million to 11,100 parts per million of basically like Drano in the fucking tap water in Tampa. And they did catch it, but it's pretty scary that they were just able to do that. I mean, maybe they don't want to make it a big news story because they're like, yeah, we don't want to like alarm and scare the shit out of people. But you're like, that's pretty fucking scary that the hackers can just hack in like to the water supply and be like, you know what, let's just crank up the poisonous chemicals, just like get that in the water supply. Anyways, it's a big yikes. Don't drink the tap water. America's due for a nice tap water scare. They had Flint, Michigan, but what they're missing out on is the whole country. And then last but not least, we have your favorite, most lovable comedy journalist weasel, Seth Simons, is back in the news. He's not in the news. He's making the news, I guess. He's, if you don't know Seth Simons, he's the guy who took down Shane Gillis, got him fired off of Saturday Night Live. General crank. He considers himself a comedy labor journalist, which I still don't know what the fuck that means. I guess the business of comedy, even though there is no business of comedy. This is the business of comedy right now. I'm doing this podcast for people who listen. I don't make any money off of it, so solid business. But so he did an article, and the craziest part, so the article is titled, "The Comedy Industry Has a Big Alt-Right Problem. How Safe Spaces for Transgressive Humor, Both Online and in Real Life, Helped Breed a Hateful Ideology." And then he does this whole write-up on the bookers of a club that I work at, The Stand, and because they were like big Opie and Anthony fans. And so essentially what he's talking about is like, he's like, yeah, The Stand is a place where people go for alt-right. Like there's no such thing as alt-right comedy. Like, yes, maybe there's like comedy that's not like, there is like alt-left comedy, I guess you could say, like super, super woke, like liberal comedy. And then, yes, maybe there's an opposite for it. But like when you go to these places that would be considered alt-right comedy, they're just like, You know, it's a place that like Dave Chappelle or like Bill Burr would play at and have recently. Like that's what, like, you know, yeah. If you want to say alt-right comedy is Bill Burr and Louis C.K. and Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock. It's like all the people who you like. I mean, maybe you don't like them all specifically or whatever, but it's like that's what quote unquote alt-right comedy is. And the guy like does this whole like takedown of like the booker and like the owner, and talking about how like comedy is like a breeding ground for like the alt-right, which the alt-right is barely a real thing at this point in the game. Like it obviously was, but it's like it's just such a catch-all term used to like just disparage anybody who you like don't like. And he, you know, he doesn't bring it up, but like he's had a lot of like drama with this club going back and forth. He did bring it up like briefly, but like him and his friends have like, you know, had all these back and forths with the club. And he talks about a recent comedy boom. Like, what fucking comedy boom are you talking about? Like a recent comedy boom? There's absolutely no comedy boom. Me and all my friends, besides, you know, my friend Ryan Long, like are mostly out of work doing nothing right now. There's not a comedy boom. Okay. But then the craziest part is that this was the part where I was like, what the fuck is this guy even talking about? He starts bringing it back to like how comedy had to do with like, you know, incited people to do the Capitol riots, at which point I was like, all right, I'm out. You've lost me completely. You know, he's talking about the Proud Boys and all this stuff, which was like started as a joke, and Gavin McInnes, who got banned from that place to stand, and like, it's insane. But anyways, he started talking about how like, you know, he was linking like stand up to the Capitol riots and how people like, you know, yeah, you know, you start out hearing some jokes at a club that are just like edgy jokes that you like, and you just want to hear people say them, and then next thing you know, you're storming the Capitol, and you're like, what? Lunacy. But the craziest part was that Anthony Jeselnik, edgy comedy extraordinaire, like literally, you know, made career out of essentially being the edgiest comedy. He's like, yeah, he's like, he had jokes where straight up was like, I like to kill babies. I don't know the exact jokes, but like, you know, pretty fucking edgy stuff, like as edgy as it would get. But the funny thing is like, it's got to the point where like edgy comedy is like making fun of people's pronouns and not like killing babies for whatever reason. It's just, it's weird that that's what it is. But you're like, someone's like, oh, I killed babies, and you're like, yeah. Someone's like, oh, I called them by the wrong, I dead named someone, and people are like, you fucking monster. How would you do that? That's not funny. You don't joke about dead naming people. You're like, but I can joke about killing babies? They're like, yes. But so anyways, Jeselnik posted this article without context, without comment. He just posted this article, and people are like, what the fuck? Like, this is your whole thing. And then, you know, I guess it's just like, once you get in the Hollywood system, you just do whatever you can to stay in there, and it requires you to just be so, I guess, hypocritical is the word. Like, he has to pretend like how does he reconcile like all the crazy shit he's ever said? He's like, well, you know, I might have said some crazy shit, but I didn't ever, you know, say I like Donald Trump. I wouldn't go that far. And you're like, you said some pretty fucked up shit. Daniel Tosh does it the right way, because he says all the fucked up shit, and then he just keeps his mouth shut about everything else. You don't hear from him at all. He just does his thing while and he just says all this crazy ass shit. Anyways, if you want to go check out the article, go to Anthony Jeselnik's Twitter. It's a whole lot of nonsense. And on that exact thing, my fucking radiator just started making some noise. So that is some good timing. That has been episode 44. Again, not financial advice. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave a review, like, and share, all that stuff. Or don't. I don't care. I mean, I do care, but whatever. It's fine. Thanks very much. I will talk to you all next week. Bye-bye.